Hey, what's up guys? Kool-Aid here, and today we're going to be doing our Heavy Assault Certifications Guide. And before I get started, I do want to touch on the weapons and launchers just a little bit. First of all, the Heavy Assault can use three weapon types, which are the light machine guns, the shotguns, and the submachine guns. Now, all three of these are very effective on the Heavy Assault, but for the purpose of this video, I am going to be using only light machine guns because they are specific to the Heavy Assault class. The Heavy Assault also has a weapon option that is specific to each empire, and I'm not huge on any of the three, but I'm not really trying to make a weapon recommendation in this video. I'm just telling you guys this because I didn't want you to think I was only using light machine guns because the other ones weren't as effective. So to touch on launchers a little bit, I'm going to recommend that you wait until pretty much the very end after you've got all the other stuff you wanted before you start spending certification points on launchers. Now, if you use station cash to upgrade your weapons, then by all means go ahead and do it. I would say the Decimator is a straight upgrade over the standard dumbfire rocket. It's going to do about 20% more damage. The only downside is that you're going to be able to carry one less rocket, and that is completely negated by an engineer or a terminal. So that is an upgrade. Now, if you need a lock-on launcher, which I am not really a big fan of, you have three options. You have one that will lock onto air, one that will lock on the ground, and the Annihilator that will lock on the both. The Annihilator does come with some downside. It is going to do less damage than the more specific ones, and you cannot dumbfire it. I would still recommend the Annihilator over the other two, however, because I don't think neither of these three lock-on launchers are all that effective unless you are working with a squad. And if you are working with a squad all using the lock-on launchers, the lower damage that you're going to get with the Annihilator is pretty much negated because you're just going to overwhelm the enemy with rockets, that you want to be able to lock onto both air and ground. So I would probably recommend the Annihilator if you want to go with a lock-on launcher. So anyways, let's start spending some certification points, and like usual we're going to start off with the suit slot first. And you have a couple intriguing options here. You have Nanoweave and Flak, which are always the norms, but you also have Grenade Bandolier. If you want to go all out offensive Heavy Assault, the Grenade Bandolier is actually a solid option. Not just because of frags, but we actually have some good specialty grenades, which I will touch on later. I, however, am going to go Nanoweave on my Heavy Assault. I want to be as hard to kill and as best in infantry battles as I can, so I want to protect myself against small arms fire. Flak is another great option. If you are building your heavy to be more of a vehicle killer, Flak is definitely a way to go. And Flak all around, just to protect you against anti-personnel mines, stuff like that is always a good option. But I am going to pick up the first two tiers of Nanoweave, costing me 11 certs. From there, we're going to jump down to our ability slot, and we're going to throw one cert into the second tier of Nanite Mesh Generator. Now, this is not my shield of choice, but for one certification point, there's really no reason not to upgrade it right off the bat, and you already have that shield to start with without sticking, a big chunk of certification points anywhere else. From there, I'm actually going to go up to our utility slot, and this is the only class that I actually use med packs on. Now in this video I'm actually using restoration packs, which are only going to cost 30 certs, where a med pack is going to cost 50 certs. However, I would probably recommend picking up the med pack over the restoration. So from there, let's actually go down to our ability slot. And I know most of you, this is probably what you're most interested in, so I will go over all three shields as well as give my recommendation at the end. I also have a link that I will leave in the description where I got a lot of this information from, that if you want more detailed information, check it out. There's some really good stuff in there, and I am not trying to claim credit for it whatsoever, but somebody put in a lot of work to get this information out for us, so you should probably check it out if you play Heavy Assault a lot. So first, let's start with the Nanite Mesh Generator. This is going to be your standard shield that comes with Heavy Assault when you first start playing. This is going to absorb all incoming damage until it's depleted. This will deplete over time as well. Once it is fully depleted, it is going to take 60 seconds to recharge all the way back to full. You can reduce this down to 45 seconds through certification points. So this is a pretty straightforward shield. I think you guys all pretty much understand how it works. So let's talk about the adrenaline shield, because this works in almost the identical way as the nanite mesh generator. It's going to have the exact same absorption, and from the first tier in each, they're going to have the exact same passive regen. Now we know by sticking certification points in the nanite mesh generator, you are actually going to reduce that passive regen time from 60 seconds all the way down to 45 seconds once it's maxed out. Now the adrenaline shield, you can never reduce that regen time, the passive regen time, but you are still going to have it. It's still going to be 60 seconds, same as the first tier of the nanite mesh generator. So that part is equal. Well, with the adrenaline shield, you are actually going to get energy back from getting kills. It's going to start off very small, but once you actually get this maxed out, you're going to get 25% of your energy back per each kill. So if you get one kill, you are going to completely make up for that lack of passive regen. So in my opinion, hands down, the adrenaline shield is better than the straight stock nanite mesh generator. But we still have not talked about the resist shield. The resist shield is not a full damage absorption shield like the other two. It will only absorb 45% of the incoming damage. However, damage received will not actually deplete this shield, which is one of the great things about it. If you actually time it properly, you can actually absorb much more damage than the other two shields. The other great thing about this shield is the passive regen time. It is only 17 seconds to go from fully depleted back to full resist shield. That's my favorite thing about it, is that you can use it so much more often than the other two shields. The downsides to this shield are that you are still taking damage, obviously, and to get the full effect out of this, you have to pre-shield before engaging in combat. You will also move at a slower rate while this shield is active, becoming an easier target for your enemies. Now, that is not a huge deterrent, but it is something to think about. One thing that might keep you away from the resist shield for now is that I currently believe upgrading it to be bugged. As you're going to see, my NC character has resist shield rank 4, my other character has resist shield rank 1, and they both seem to have the exact same duration. Now, having said that, I still really like the resist shield. It's what you're going to see me use most of this video, and I'm not saying it's better than the adrenaline shield. The reason I did not buy the adrenaline shield is because I don't play heavy assault a lot. I knew I wasn't going to be playing heavy assault enough to invest and get maxed out adrenaline shield, but I know what it does. We all know what it does now, and you can't really compare it to the resist shield. Both have strengths, both have weaknesses, and you guys kind of have to choose that for yourself, which one you would actually think would benefit you more. Now, if you are going to go with the resist shield, I would definitely suggest to pick it up right now. It's only going to cost 50 cert for the first tier, and we're kind of in that, 50 to 100 cert area where stuff's starting to get a little more expensive for us. Now, if you are going to go with the adrenaline shield, you might want to hold off for a little bit. Maybe wait till we buy a few more cheaper things before you start investing in it. Because remember, you still have the nanite mesh generator shield, and those first few tiers of the adrenaline shield are not really going to be that good. So whether you picked up resist shield there, or if you decided to wait for adrenaline shield, we're going to go back up to our suit slot, and we're going to grab the next tier of nanoweave armor, or flak armor if you're using that. That's going to cost us 50 certs. Next, you can either pick up the next tier of nanoweave or flak, or you can go back up to your utility slot and grab that next tier of med pack. Whether you're going med or restoration, the next tier is going to cost 100 certification points, but that's going to allow us to keep really long kill streaks going, having 2 of those health or restoration packs. So from here, you can start going in a lot of different directions. If you haven't grabbed your shield yet, now's the time to start putting points in that adrenaline shield if that's what you've been waiting on. Also grab that second to last rank of nanoweave or flak if you haven't already. The last rank of nanoweave and flak is 1,000 certs, so you're going to want to get most of the stuff out of the way that you want before you start saving up to that. But now you can actually start looking into specialty grenades as well, and I always save these for last because they're not always necessarily upgrades over your standard frag grenade, but I will say that the heavy assault has 2 really good options in this department. The first of which is my personal favorite, the concussion grenade. And what this does is basically anybody in the blast radius of this grenade basically gets paralyzed. It's probably the most vulnerable feeling I've ever felt in a video game. You just really can't do anything, yet you see everything that's about to happen to you. These are very fun to use, very effective, and I haven't unequipped these on my heavy assault since I purchased them. The other option is the anti-vehicle grenade, and I was pleasantly surprised with how much damage these actually do to vehicles. I thought they would have just maybe put a little scratch on them, but if you can place these properly, these are going to take a good chunk of health off of vehicles, as you can see from this clip. Now the problem is that they are kind of rubbery and they tend to bounce around a lot, but if you can place them properly, they are going to be a great asset to an anti-vehicle loadout for a heavy assault. These will actually also do damage to infantry, but it is not nearly as much as a frag grenade. In fact, you can be standing right on top of one of these and it will not kill you if you are at full health to start with. One thing that does really intrigue me about these anti-vehicle grenades is the possibility of equipping them with a grenade bandolier. Just think of the devastation that you could do if you had 3 anti-vehicle grenades, 5 rockets, and possibly even equipping C4 in your utility slot. And that is one thing I haven't mentioned yet, basically because I really like med packs for my heavy assault, but C4 is another good possibility that you might want to look into at this point, or even earlier if you're going full anti-vehicle loadout. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much all I have. Hopefully I covered most of the basics for you guys, and if you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll talk to y'all later.